Senate Bill 5066.
And thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Joe McKittrick, Staff Counsel. Senate Bill 5066 concerns strengthening and clarifying the authority of the Attorney General to address local law enforcement and local correction agency misconduct through investigations and legal actions. This committee heard a proposed substitute to this bill, lettered Romeo, and that proposed sub grants the Attorney General authority to investigate local law enforcement and corrections agencies for violations of the state constitution and laws, permits the Attorney General to bring actions against local law enforcement and corrections agencies for violations of the Constitution and state laws, and requires the Attorney General to develop and publish a model policy for law enforcement agency accountability systems. There is one new proposed substitute Charlie, offered by Chair Dingra. And this proposed substitute would remove the requirement that the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs establish a program to provide technical assistance to local law enforcement and corrections agencies. It would require the Attorney General model policy be consistent with other AG published model policies, including policies addressing use of force and data collection. It makes some minor technical corrections, and it provides an emergency clause.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about that? We have proposed substitute Romeo for Senate Bill 5066. Actually, we have a proposed sub. Never mind. Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that proposed substitute Charlie receive a due pass recommendation and be sent to the Ways and Means Committee.
It has been moved and seconded. And is there any discussion on Charlie? I will just mention that this does make changes that were asked for by some stakeholders, and I am happy to offer this on behalf of the prime sponsor. Senator Holy?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. You usually go to a birthday party, there's a piñata, everybody gets blindfolded and you get one whack at it. We are stacking on more and more oversight on law enforcement, although ostensibly this is not something that would address the individual officer. It does address the agency the officer works for, and quite frankly, if the agency comes to a wrong conclusion in investigation or punitive measures, disciplinary measures on this, all of a sudden, then the agency itself is in play. So there's something that's a rather compelling interest to do things that they might find that they wouldn't do otherwise, having an objective or an independent view without a course of oversight. So I look at this, and this bothers me a little bit that we have this. There's the part about moving this back into the Attorney General's office. Every time we do something like that, I understand the prosecutors locally are elected officials, but the Attorney General's office is another elected official. And every time we do this, and you have concurrent overlapping reviews out there that are not preempting anybody else from doing this, no matter what the level of agency, officers, this kind of thing, we are doing something that appears to be counterproductive. We're going to talk later on, and I'll get in and out of this, about 5584, which kind of hits the same subject matter from an oblique angle, another whack at the piñata. And it bothers me that we're doing this. This appears going along with the governor's intent to hire more law enforcement officers under Bill 5060, with the funding that's available here. This appears dramatically counterproductive in so many ways that it creates that kind of a chilling effect on the hiring of officers. So I'm going to ask for a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Torres.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also agree with Senator Holy's words. We are trying to hire more officers, and this is not the way to hire more officers. Also, the emergency clause is absolutely unnecessary. And the third thing I will say is that the fiscal note on this for 8 cases really gives me heartburn, especially being on the Operating Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Trudeau.
Thank you. I have a little bit of a different take on it. I actually had a conversation recently with somebody that was looking into some of the recruitment. And, we know that a lot of agencies are recruiting. And actually the comment they made was, I don't think I could work at that agency simply because of the culture. And so I think sometimes when we make sure that agencies are a place that are welcoming for folks that maybe have questions or have had, less than desirable interactions with a particular law enforcement entity or law enforcement officer, I think this actually allows us to recruit the type of quality folks that we really want serving in these professions. And we have many of them already, to be very clear. But I think this actually does help to make sure that we are recruiting with intention and that people have a good, solid place to land in order to be the guardians of our community.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Proposed substitute Senate Bill 5066 has received a due pass recommendation and is sent to the Ways and Means Committee, subject to